And good evening. Thanks for joining us for ARC Salt Lake. I'm Jamie McGriff. It's Thursday, February 12th, and tonight we are taking a look at a proposed bill that would allow teachers to discuss religion within the context of the curriculum. But first, we're finally getting some precipitation this week after a long dry spell. And meteorologist Sean Kelly has our first alert forecast, and very happy about this as well. Hey, Sean.
Yeah, hey, it was a month-long dry spell here, so it was a good change of pace, but we're wrapping up with the storm here further up towards the north. Some lingering snow flurries across some of the higher terrain, and then across central Utah, we've got some scattered lingering showers, even a few thunderstorms from Green River up towards the north and east, heading closer towards the Colorado area, back westward towards Delta, and then drier conditions here down towards the south. A few sprinkles in the Kanab area. Eastward, heading towards Halls Crossing into the Blanding area. I think southeastern Utah, that's going to be the bullseye for some heavy rain that we could see tomorrow. But again, here further up towards the north, we are, for the most part, basically done with the storm. 42 degrees, dry and much colder tonight. Still, we might not even get below freezing here in the valleys further up towards the north, but again, cooler than yesterday. We get ready, though, for a nice weekend ahead, but big changes arrive next week. We could maybe see our first snow of the season that we haven't really experienced at all here for the valleys. We'll have that for you coming up in my first alert weather forecast.
All right, Sean, thank you. We've now learned BYU's campus police assisted in the investigation that led to the arrest of star wide receiver Parker Kingston. And there are still questions about the university's role and why he was allowed to play last season despite the serious allegations. Liv Kelleher has.
According to court records, the alleged rape happened and was reported in February of last year. The woman had an interview with investigators in June, and Kingston was arrested yesterday.
The length of investigation could simply be just waiting for evidence, or it could be because they're gathering even more evidence.
In between then, Kingston played a full season of football with BYU. Per the probable cause statement, the woman told investigators that she told Kingston before and during their sexual interaction that she did not want to have sex and asked him to stop. Kingston alleged the opposite, saying their sexual interactions were consensual. BYU's honor code states premarital sex is not allowed. A spokesperson for the Washington County Attorney's Office confirmed today that campus police assisted the St. George Police in executing search warrants in the case. I reached out to several officials at BYU, including Police Chief Matthew Andrus and several people in the athletics department, to ask them who at BYU was made aware of the investigation and when. What is the university's policy for students who are being investigated for crimes of this nature? And why was Kingston allowed to play in the 2025 season? BYU did not respond to my questions, but sent a statement out yesterday. Trent Dresden, an attorney who specializes in prosecuting sexual assault cases, but is not connected to this case, says prosecutors typically won't pursue a felony rape charge unless they are confident in their evidence.
Usually we like to have a reasonable likelihood of success for prosecution, but the legal minimum we need to have to proceed is going to be probable cause.
First degree.
That was Liv Kelleher reporting. You may remember this. Back in 2004, 4 BYU football players were charged with aggravated sexual assault following an incident with a 17-year-old at a Provo apartment. The victim says she was gang raped after she passed out from drinking vodka. Carlin Brachet Bennett later pled guilty to lesser charges. The case against another player went through the juvenile system, and 2 others were later acquitted, but they were all suspended from the team. A proposed bill would allow public school teachers in Utah to discuss religion in the context of the curriculum. David Ochoa talked to the bill's sponsor and a teacher who has kids of their own. Take a listen.
All right, so Senate Bill 268, religious curriculum. Just talk to me a little bit about it. What's it about?
Yeah, so I was approached by a constituent, and they wanted to make sure that teachers knew it was okay, if they want to mention why the Pilgrims, were inspired to come here, that there's, we've all heard of the separation of church and state, and that's actually, I think the Founding Fathers meant that more, that we wouldn't have a national religion like they did in England. But, we just want to make it clear that if it's relevant to the historical context, that it's okay to mention those things. This is not a mandate. We're not trying to force any teachers to say anything, but if teachers are so otherwise inclined to add that into their explanations, we want to make it clear that that's allowed.
And why do you feel this is important?
Well, I think that this is a country that was founded on Christian principles, and I don't think we need to run away from that. And I think we're in a murky legal area where people are afraid of what they can and can't say without getting in trouble. So that's why it's important to me. So this was brought to me. It was actually brought to me as a mandate, and I said, I'm not comfortable trying to force teachers to do this, but I am comfortable saying this is okay. So I don't think any teacher should be pushing a religion, but I do think if religion played a role in the historical development of the country or the state, it should be clear that it's okay to include that in the discussion.
But just as a parent, what do you think of that?
I think our country, our state, everything is a balance of freedom of speech with other freedoms, and also we have a pretty defined separation of church and state, which includes schools. And so I think making things more explicitly easier for teachers to bring religion into the classroom, depending on the context, might be a little concerning. I think if it was very obvious that it was only evidence or facts or actual history, then that would be fine. But if there are people out there who are putting their own spin on things, that's when I get concerned.
On the other side, as a teacher, has something like this ever been something that you or any of your colleagues have been worried about saying something in a classroom and maybe getting in trouble for it?
My take as a teacher is interesting because there are religious aspects to certain core standards. Not in science, which I teach, but in social studies, there's a whole lot of historical stuff. There's almost nothing that's happened in history that doesn't have something to do with religion. And so it's fair to expect that to be taught in the classroom, but again, in an unbiased way. For my own personal experience, when I taught ninth grade biology, one of my topics is evolution. And I had to be very careful because sometimes there was some pushback. And so I tried to mostly stick to the general process of evolution and not go into all the divisive stuff, but that's what the kids are interested in. And so I was very specific. I actually invited our state science specialist to come in and present about evolution rather than having it be on me. And he went straight from our core standards, and guess what? I didn't get any complaints. So sometimes it's better to get some higher ups involved if it's a controversial subject.
The First Lady of Utah, along with other legislative spouses, gathered at the William E. Christopherson Veterans Home in Salt Lake City for a service project today. They visited with veterans and shared their stories of loved ones who fought for the country. 2 News spoke with the First Lady about the event.
Today we're here at a veterans home with legislative spouses and myself and my team, really celebrating our incredible veterans and singing and sharing stories about personal family histories that we have in our own family of incredible veterans that we're celebrating here today.
And what do you think is important to celebrate veterans?
Well, honestly, as we look at our 250 celebration, our 250-year anniversary of our incredible country, we would not be here but for these veterans. We would not have our country if it weren't for them and their sacrifice. So it really is a tribute to our veterans to make sure that we understand and incorporate them in this beautiful celebration, because they're the reason, one of the biggest reasons we are still here as a country.
And what's been your favorite part of the event today?
Honestly, meeting the veterans, of course, and listening to them and hearing their stories and being able to share the story of my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran, who served and fought on Iwo Jima, who was wounded on Iwo Jima, and the family pride that I have in thinking about him and his legacy for our family, and the patriotism that it invokes in me, and that I can pass that on to generations of our family, that most Americans have that we can celebrate these American heroes and as we celebrate 250.
Coming up on ARC Salt Lake, proposed legislation would stop teachers from grading on social emotional learning. What the bill's sponsor has to say. On Utah's Capitol Hill, strong feelings over a plan to cut so-called character education in Utah schools. Teachers could still keep order in the classroom, but not grade social emotional learning. 2 News' Brian Malahy reports.
Representative Lee.
Representative Trevor Lee centers on gender, immigration, and today education to ban giving grades to kids for their character in schools. How much of this, in your view, is a woke agenda in public ed?
Well, for social emotional learning, it's really gotten bad. I mean, that's how they've been able to implement it in the schools. For example, who is to decide what a nice person is?
What's wrong with having good character?
Well, nothing.
What's wrong with teaching that in schools?
Nothing, as long as it doesn't go too far or that is what is determined what their grade is.
Late today, a legislative panel took up his bill.
How valuable do you think your instruction is for these kids?
I think it's really important.
Joshua Figueroa says he teaches social emotional learning in schools.
It just kind of hit me in my heart when a student said, something that I learned is that I can make friends.
A legislative committee voted unanimously to hold the bill today. That means it's likely it will not pass this session. At the Capitol, Brian Malahi, KUTV 2 News.
And also at the Capitol, state lawmakers are working on a bill to raise taxes on cigarettes, e-cigarettes, and nicotine pouches. The House Revenue and Taxation Committee was supposed to consider it today, but ran out of time. Under this proposal, people buying cigarettes would have to spend an extra $2 per pack. Supporters say the goal is to reduce tobacco use. And we'll keep you updated on all of the legislative stories that impact your family during the news on 2 News, as well as the 2 News app and on KUTV.com. Candidate for Congress Ben McAdams says that he secured a spot on the June primary ballot. He says that his volunteers have collected more than 7,000 verified signatures as required under state law. The former congressman is the first candidate in the newly reformed 1st District to qualify for the ballot. A handful of other Democrats and one Republican are still trying to collect enough signatures. Another Main Street bar damaged in last summer's fire is about to reopen. Eva will welcome customers back this weekend. Oh, thank goodness. I love that place. It's the second of 5 businesses damaged in the fire to open its doors again. Whitehorse reopened a few weeks ago. Reopening dates for Whiskey Street, London Bell, and Los Tapatillos Taco Grill, well, those are still pending. But we are certainly glad to know that there's progress being made slowly but surely.
I love Eva's.
And progress is being made with the weather, too.
Yeah, the weather here is having a significant change in the right direction. In fact, this time last week, we were at 50% of average for our snowpack. Now that has bumped up to 54%. I think this time next week, we might be over 60% or so, as we are in the beginning of a pretty nice pattern change heading in the right direction to more active weather. So it's a step. Of course, you know, we could use a lot more snow, but we can't. I mean, this is pretty impressive. This is nice numbers here for much of the area. Of course, it's kind of high elevation snow, heavy wet snow, more like a spring storm where those lower elevations, looking at Sundance, Snow Basin, Powder Mountain, we didn't see nothing too significant, but some of those higher elevations up to a foot of snow, and could maybe see another coating to a half an inch here through the overnight, but generally drying things out. We've got some lingering flurries tomorrow for those that are in town planning on going skiing. Nice weather Saturday and Sunday. Monday, though, we'll see our next storm moving in. Could see a few evening showers out there, which we'll talk about in just a moment. We've got some scattered showers here heading towards the Grand Junction area, some storms just south of Vernal, but mainly drying things out further up towards the north. We'll have to watch out for this area of activity. This could maybe be our last batch that'll be moving in. If it weakens, then again, we're pretty much all said and done. Just some isolated activity down towards the south. And then we have a few sprinkles here across the Wasatch Front, but mainly dry right now. And again, just what develops south and west of Dugway, if that does reach us, that'll be the last round that we'll see. This model shows that it tries to work its way in, but then it completely collapses. And then we're just left with dry conditions tomorrow morning for the morning commute up and down the I-15 corridor. Some heavier rain, though, southeastern Utah. This is the bullseye. So the storm's not done. It's done for us up towards the north, but we are actually ramping things up down across the southern half of the state because that's where the center of the low is as it slides out towards the south and east. So tomorrow morning's commute could be a bit messy for some. Evening commute as well, a little bit less activity, but still some showers here across central Utah and southeastern Utah. We're dry for Saturday and mild for the weekend here, and really mild for President's Day. But by President's Day evening, there it is, our next chance of valley rain and mountain snow, with those snow levels dropping, mix of rain and snow on Tuesday. And then by Wednesday, we may see all valley snow here. That's a possibility. We'll have to watch out for this. This has been, I'd say, the best odds that we have seen to see accumulating snow in the valleys all season long. So that's a big change. So we'll love to see that. Still many days away, so a lot can change. But again, I do like the direction that we're heading. So St. George, you're looking at temperatures here into the 60s. Active weather, cooler weather into next week. Across the Wasatch Front, we're into the 50s. And then we're really warm for President's Day at 60 degrees. And then there's that drop in the temperatures by Tuesday and Wednesday. Active weather as well. Could see maybe some accumulating snow by Wednesday. We'll continue to track it.
right, thank you, Sean. And coming up on Arc Salt Lake, the Utah Mammoth are opening their practice facility to the public, when you can watch them skate and maybe even get an autograph.
The Super Bowl of Caring. Brought to you by America First Credit Union, Smith's, Check City, Ford, Balance of Nature, and Rocky Mountain Power.
You can help end child hunger in Utah with our Super Bowl of Caring. You can scan the QR code on your screen. You can go to KUTV.com/donate. For more information on how to donate, you can give $10. And just $10 can help feed a child for a weekend.
2 News wants to see how you celebrate 250 years of amazing America. Scan the QR code or go to KUTV.com/chime in. Click Submit Content and pick Amazing America 250 from the drop-down. Whether it's your favorite monument, your favorite park, around the state, or around the country, we want to see and share whatever makes you proud to be American. Thank you for being a part of 2 News and Amazing America 250.
The Utah Mammoth have released more information about the opening of their ice skating center in Sandy. 300 fans will have the opportunity to attend the first open to the public Mammoth practices February 21st and 22nd. Following the practice on the 21st, select Mammoth players will sign one item per fan in attendance. You can register 24 hours in advance of each practice. And a brand new team store will open February 20th, featuring an expanded selection of Mammoth merchandise. The University of Utah says that it's not raising football season ticket prices for the 2026 season. This coming year, the Utes will play 7 home games, including Arkansas and BYU. The cheapest season tickets, $525. It will be the first full season for the new head coach, Morgan Scalley. Fans will have until April 22nd to renew their tickets. The U says flexible payment plans are options that are available for people who need them. The University of Utah just selected this year's commencement speaker. Best-selling author C. Brooks will address the graduates April 30th at the Huntsman Center on campus. Brooks has written 15 books, including the Build the Life You Want. He also is a professor at Harvard. More than 8,000 students will receive their degrees during graduation. Yeah, it is that time, spring semester. It's rough on students trying to get their stuff done, but we hope they will actually get through, and for those of them graduating, be successful and finish all of their courses. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again at 9.